My husband passed away, and I have come here to transport the coffin, the casket. We have no information whether the flight is going to take off or not.
फ्लाइट भी नहीं लिया था, कैंसिल हो गया, हमारा एयरपोर्ट पे ही है, तो एटलीस्ट इनको बोलना चाहिए ना कि कहाँ पर है हमारा लगेज। इंडिगो के स्टाफ नीचे बुकिंग ले रहे और भी लोगों को बेवकूफ बनाया जा रहा था।
मेरी सिस्टर का आरपीएफ का एग्जाम था, मैंने 3 तारीख की फ्लाइट कर रखी थी, 3 को कैंसिल कर दिया, फिर 4 को रीशेड्यूल कर दिया, फिर 4 को भी कैंसिल कर दिया, फिर आज सुबह कर दिया, वो भी कैंसिल कर दिया।
कुछ खाया पिया नहीं, हमारा तो वही था कि जाके बारात में जाना है हमको, मेरी खुद की शादी है। कल की दोपहर की फ्लाइट है, वो भी अभी तक चली नहीं है, तो फिर चेक इन क्यों ले रहे हैं पैकेज का?
Viewers, what do you make of what you just saw? This is not your ordinary, airline delay story. This is a national scandal, viewers. It is a total betrayal of people. IndiGo Airlines knew. They knew months ago that the new pilot fatigue rules, the norms designed to stop exhausted pilots from flying, would kick in. They knew they did not have enough pilots to follow the rules. And you know what they did? Instead of hiring, instead of training, instead of planning, viewers, they did the unthinkable. They opened bookings, they ran flash ticket sales, can you believe it? They kept selling tickets. They kept filling every seat. They took your money with full knowledge that they could not honor the promise. And then suddenly one day, hundreds of flights cancelled. Airports have turned into refugee camps. Just look at the pictures. Thousands of passengers stranded. Children crying at airports. The elderly sitting on cold floors. Patients missing critical treatment. Infants without milk. The elderly collapsing without any relief. Women begging for sanitary pads. Yes, the airline called it operational issue. And you know what that corporate code means? It means they lied to you, they robbed you, and they don't care. That is the operational issue. But while the airline was resorting to blackmail and bullying, you know what the government did? The Sarkar blinked. The government surrendered, viewers, surrendered. It rolled back the pilot rest rules. Viewers, the government could have sided with the passengers. They could have sided with the safety. They could have sided with probity principle. They could have told IndiGo to pay the price. But they rewrote safety rules to save one airline's balance sheet. That is what it is. India's aviation regulator became IndiGo's public relations department. I will say that again. India's aviation regulator became IndiGo's public relations department, viewers, and the Ministry of Civil Aviation became the Ministry of IndiGo appeasement. Let people take offense. This is the truth. And let me say this slowly so that no one misunderstands. The government officially declared today that IndiGo's market share, IndiGo's profit is more important than your life. The government has declared that if a company is big enough, it can flout any rule, cause any suffering, and the state will change the rule rather than enforce it. Viewers, I hope we don't forget this apathy. Never forget these pictures. Remember the stakeholders and how they betrayed. IndiGo, the airline that took your money and delivered misery. DGCA, the regulator, sold safety for convenience. And the Ministry of Civil Aviation chose profit over people. Airline flouts norms. Airline blackmails the country. The regulator surrenders. The government rewrites safety rules to protect the violator. Passenger pays the price in money, in tears, and one day, God forbid, viewers, in blood. After the outrage and anger, listen to what the CEO of IndiGo has said. Also listen to the aviation minister. You will be shocked.
Imperative for progressive improvements starting as from tomorrow. With these actions, we expect tomorrow to have cancellations below 1,000. It will take some time to return to a full normal situation, which we do anticipate between the 10th and the 15th of December.
Today we are seeing that the situation is getting better. From tomorrow we are expecting normalcy to start, in the sense there won't be any congestion or there won't be any waiting at the airports.
The CEO says cancellation will be under 1,000 tomorrow. Under 1,000. It's such a great achievement by the airline. And then the minister says situation is better now. Normalcy will return. Let me open this up. Mr. C.S. Randhawa, President of the Federation of Indian Pilots. Parvez Damania, former Executive Director, Kingfisher Airlines. He needs no introduction. Dr. Vikram Singh, Harshvardhan Tripathi ji, Dr. Akashdeep Muni, and Karan Verma complete this panel. And Professor Jyotsna Tirunagari, National Spokesperson of the TDP, also on the show. Harshvardhan ji, you know, I will get him in just a bit. But Mr. Damania, as the airline insider, what do you make of this mess? This is engineered by the airline. In this case, IndiGo knew what it was doing.
This is completely shocking. First and foremost, let's remember that IndiGo is almost 19, 20-year-old airline. It's not an airline that started 6 months or a year ago that it's collapsed so badly. The collapse has been absolutely terrible and has affected a huge number of passengers. Try and understand, each plane carries about 150 to 180 passengers. If we are talking of under 1,000 aircraft flights getting cancelled, we are talking of 180,000 people getting affected. Now, what I don't understand, how are these people going to manage? See, let's look at it this way. You are supposed to file a schedule about 3 months in advance. So the winter schedule must have been filed 3 months in advance. And when you file a schedule, you're very clear how many flights you're going to operate. See, these calculations are not rocket science, that for every single aisle aircraft, you need how many pilots and how many co-pilots. So you know 3 months in advance that what is your requirement of the crew. And you plan everything accordingly. Another thing one has to remember, that when you order aircrafts, they are ordered years in advance. So the delivery time schedule and dates are known to you well in advance. So you know in 2025, I am going to receive 2 aircrafts every month. So you can plan everything that way. It's not that overnight aircrafts were delivered to you and you didn't know what to do with them.
Mr. Damania, you know, can you answer one question? I'm sure you must have seen the statement by the IndiGo CEO. Why is he still having his job? Who owns this airline? I don't know who owns IndiGo. And whoever owns it must fire the CEO at the earliest to begin with.
See, I will tell you a very sorry situation that we are all in and the country is in. There are only 2 airlines to name in India. So whatever the government might say, whatever the statement people will make, in short, everything will be covered up in a very short time. Try and understand that the government was forced to take the regulation back. So the government passes a law and then today the government takes back its own law. Means we are more dependent on IndiGo than IndiGo is dependent on us.
Which is why I said this is surrender. There is no other word, and surrender is the word in currency these days. But, you know, this is the real deal. There is no other word but surrender to describe this situation. Harshvardhan Tripathi is joining the panel. Dr. Vikram Singh, every time a passenger, you know, is late to catch his flight, the airline shows no mercy. आपको extra पैसे देने हैं, you will have to rebook another flight. 50 rules दिखा दिए जाते हैं आपको. You are not even treated properly. Look what the airline has done. And then see the defiance.
Pranesh ji and esteemed panelists, good evening. Mr. Parvez Damania has set the tone and the tenor of the debate very well, and I totally agree with what he said. This was a totally unmitigated disaster, to say the least, and an avoidable one at that. As Mr. Damania had said, that there is, you submit a schedule, what I would say in layman's terms, that you have a duty roster, and it's not rocket science. Yes, it is something that it is IT-enabled service, and everybody knows 2 months in advance where and which flight he would be and in which place. Obviously, you did not probably anticipate and did not have a contingency plan. You continued to book the tickets. You continued to charge astronomical charge fares. That a fare between Delhi and Lucknow is much more today than it is between Delhi and Dubai. I mean, look at the scandalous manner in which these profit-making machines that IndiGo is, and what they have created is such, a recipe of disaster and a recipe of catastrophe at the airports. You mentioned several things. I would not like to go into them, but yes, it is a human misery at its worst. And I do hope there should be consequences for the airlines for messing up the entire thing. Mr. Damania had given the mathematical numbers also. One plane, 180, 100 planes, it translates into almost 200,000. Well, those 200,000 lives matter in which there are children. There are those who are carrying dead bodies. There was a lady. I mean, it will bleed anybody's heart to see that the lady is carrying the casket of the husband's body, and then there is no respite to her. The children are crying for medicines and milk. I mean, you really said it right, that the state-of-the-art
you're absolutely right. The airline is playing with people's sentiments, human dignity, and the government can't see. Karan, what is this? There is a video. I'm sure you must have seen it. A father is begging for a sanitary pad for his daughter. Can you believe it? And the staffer, the IndiGo staffer, says, "Aise nahi hota hai."
Pranesh, the insensitivity at display is absolutely abominable. And the worst is that, Pranesh, we should have seen this coming. It's been 15 months since we had the FDTL norms. And the way IndiGo, and I'm now quoting the Airline Pilots Association of India's president, Sam Thomas, he says, and he's been saying this in the past also, there has been deliberate operational slowdown on the part of IndiGo to deliberately resist tighter regulatory norms. IndiGo has had a free run. I mean, they goofed up on schedules time and again, and it just kept piling on from the last 15 months. And the DGCA was caught napping. The Civil Aviation Ministry was caught napping. They are responsible for this mess. This wasn't built in one day. In the last 15 to 18 months, IndiGo has been playing with fire and getting away with it. They realize that we are actually a duopoly. You know, when people talk about crony capitalism, here is a live example of crony capitalism where citizens are treated like livestock. This is one example, and I'm so glad, Pranesh, you and the Times Network, the way you've picked the story, and you have to nail the government on this, and I'm glad we are doing that. The insensitivity with which the IndiGo CEO blamed it all on norms, and the government, the DGCA, relented and said, yes, now we have no option but to give you a free pass till February 2026. I mean, is this a government? Is this a regulatory body? This helpless body represents us. Shame on them. And I think, Pranesh, heads need to roll. The government needs to act on this. I don't care about this coalition dharma. Who is the aviation minister? Who is heading the DGCA? Heads need to roll. Some people need to be shown the door.
And we know the names of those people. Let's start with this IndiGo CEO. And you know, less said the better about the DGCA. Absolutely. What is this DGCA about? Mr. Damania, why do we have DGCA? To preside over this mess? What were they doing? Sleeping? Watching what? IPL? What were they doing? This DGCA should be renamed. It is not the Directorate General of Civil Aviation. It is the Directorate General of Civil Aviation Apathy. Add another A. That is what DGCAA should be called henceforth.
No, but you see, I'll tell you something from before. I've been saying this. The airlines need to self-regulate. The DGCA cannot be every time, everywhere.
Mr. Damania, look, 1 minute. If the self-regulation is not working, then the government must step in. Just because, DGCA is called the regulatory body does not mean that, it will not interfere. The buck stops with the government. They can't allow a situation like this, and they've allowed it. And I'm telling you, within 1 week, or even lesser, we will forget about this. We will move on to, the usual blame game, etc.
What the government can do, like I said, what the government can do, whenever an airline flies a schedule with the Ministry of Civil Aviation, the first thing they should check and double check if you have enough manpower to run the schedule. If you do not have that much manpower, then you make sure you cut down the schedule. You don't add flights. You add flights for commercial gain in spite of knowing well that you do not have the manpower to man it. That is completely wrong, and that you are responsible 100%. I mean, I saw images of passengers at the airport and they were really sad. If you today open Instagram, every second post is about IndiGo. Some are funny, some are stupid, but most of them are pitiful. You feel sorry. There was one guy showing...
I'm not feeling sorry, I'm feeling angry. Sorry is not the word, sir. I'm sorry. You started well, Mr. Damania, but I think now you're being rather charitable on the airline. Karan has a question for you.
To Mr. Damania, with the utmost respect, he said the DGCA cannot intervene everywhere. What do you do when it's flagged as a concern to the DGCA time and again, 4 times? And it's none other than Sam Thomas, who's the president of the Airline Pilots Association of India. And he says today, this is not unprecedented. Time and again, I warned the DGCA that such patterns are continuing, especially with IndiGo. They've been getting away with this from the last 1.5 years. What is the DGCA there for if they can't regulate this, despite being flagged as a concern? That is apathy of the worst order, sir. You can't give them a free pass here.
But apart from that, when you file a schedule, the government can check with them. No, if you're filing a schedule of 300 aircraft, 300 flights.
I understand. But you see, all the technicalities, all of this is lost on the people. The people will judge the government, the regulator, the airline by the experience. Professor Jyotsna, forget that you're from the TDP, ma'am. As a regular flyer, as an ordinary citizen, what do you make of this?
First and foremost, it's very, very pathetic, I would say. There's no doubt about it that it's pathetic. People are undergoing a lot of things. And I see, as rightly quoted by one of the panelists, definitely we see every other post on Instagram or any other social media is about IndiGo and the mess they have created. And yes, it is the mess that have been created by IndiGo. There's no doubt about it. We are not here to surrender to anybody, or we are not here to defend anybody. Let me be very clear here. Because the rules and regulations, whatever this particular rule, technically if I have to speak about, this particular rule was, I think it came on November 1st, if I'm not wrong. And almost a month has passed by. And still, now suddenly, it's not, as rightly quoted by one of the other panelists, it's not something that has come up in one day or one night. Definitely they should have seen it. The airline should have seen it. There's no doubt about it. At the same time, there is a crisis now, and we are addressing that crisis, and whoever is responsible for this crisis, they'll be taken to task. There's no doubt about it on that either. This is why why am I telling you this is, the moment this has surfaced, this particular crisis has surfaced, which has been again a mess created by the airlines. There is no doubt. Yes, certain questions have been raised by Mr. Karan on the DGCA. Yes, we will address that also. There is a committee that has been formed and an inquiry is happening. The Honorable Minister is on it. He's on ground from day one, and he's with the people, and he's been...
No, Professor Jyotsna, 1 minute. 1 minute. How difficult is it for the government to say that, look, Mr. IndiGo, Messrs. IndiGo, you must at the very least compensate people adequately. Just this one line whip. Is it difficult if the government can say that we are rolling back the norms to mitigate the crisis? Why can't they say that, please look after people?
See, I'll tell you, definitely that is one of the points. The first and foremost point of the government is passenger safety and also passenger confidence and convenience of the passenger. We have to think about that also. And again, as I said, there are long-term issues with this particular thing, and we will address it. We are not shying away. We are not, running away anywhere, Pranesh. We are here. The minister is here. He is addressing the issue. He is in the war room. From day one.
You know what the minister said, ma'am? I think you missed what the minister said. He said the situation is getting better. I don't know who's advising the minister, because if someone is, then the minister should first sack that person and look at the reports himself. It is not getting better. Or maybe he heard the IndiGo CEO and then spoke to the media. Harshvardhan ji, I'll come to you. Professor Jyotsna, I'll come back to you. Two people haven't spoken. Harshvardhan ji, ये जो हमारा एक जो सब फेस करते हैं कि अगर आप कभी अपने फ्लाइट के लिए लेट हो जाएं तो 50 रूल्स हैं कि पैसे दीजिए, अब ये नेक्स्ट फ्लाइट नहीं हो सकता, आप लेट हैं, बोर्डिंग गेट क्लोज हो गया है, जो भी होते हैं ये सब. अगर वजन के भी नॉर्म्स हैं, अगर वेट एक्सीड हो जाता है उसके लिए भी पैसे दीजिए. पैसेंजर पेज थ्रू हिज नोज एट एवरी स्टेप फॉर एवरीथिंग. बट एयरलाइन के लिए ये सब कोई रेगुलेशन नहीं. एयरलाइन की जो मर्जी होगी वो करेगा और सरकार ऐसे हाथ उठा देगी. सरेंडर.
प्रणेश भाई, इतनी कमजोर सरकार हो जाए कि इसकी कल्पना नहीं थी. ये कनपट्टी पर कट्टा सटाकर ब्लैकमेल कर लिया एक कंपनी ने. 3 दिन पहले हमारे एक साथी हैं, मित्र हैं, वो एविएशन इंडस्ट्री में ही हैं और चूंकि वो जॉब में हैं तो मैं उनका नाम नहीं ले सकता. उन्होंने कहा कि हर्ष भाई आप 2 दिन रुक जाइए. क्राइसिस शुरू हुई थी, मैं 3 दिन पहले की बात बता रहा हूं. उनका 2 दिन रुक जाइए, ये इंडिगो जो कर रहा है सरकार को झुकना ही पड़ेगा. आप जरा सोचिए, अगर मेरे जैसे व्यक्ति को एक आदमी जो उसका जानने वाला है वो ये बता रहा है, तो राम मोहन नायडू जी के मंत्रालय को बिल्कुल ये पता नहीं. और इस डीजीसीए की बिल्डिंग को तो ध्वस्त करके वहां हरा भरा पार्क बना देना चाहिए था. कम से कम दिल्ली के प्रदूषण में कुछ थोड़ा सा राहत मिलेगी. ये डीजीसीए की बिल्डिंग की जगह वहां बढ़िया ग्रीन पार्क बना देना चाहिए था. कुछ तो राहत मिलेगी. शर्मसार करने वाला घटनाक्रम है. और मैं आपको कुछ चीजें पॉइंट वाइज बताता हूं क्योंकि मैंने बातचीत की और जो मेरी समझ में आया, ये कितना डेलिबरेट है, कितना एज ए नेशन एक कंपनी हमें इस तरह से घुटनों पर झुका रही है. लाखों लोग एयरपोर्ट पर फंसे हुए हैं, लाखों लोग रो रहे हैं, लाखों लोग पीड़ा में हैं और जाने कितने लोग होंगे जो नहीं जाएंगे. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल मेरी भी कल की इंडिगो की फ्लाइट थी. अब मैं वहां नहीं जा पाऊंगा. जिन आयोजकों ने हमारे लिए बड़े कार्यक्रम की बड़ी तैयारी की होगी वो अब मैं नहीं जा पाऊंगा. अब ये मैं आपको एक उदाहरण बता रहा हूं. मेरे जानने में आज सुबह 1 बजे की फ्लाइट लखनऊ की थी और 10 बजे आता है मैसेज कि आपकी फ्लाइट कैंसिल हो गई. जब इंडिगो ने तय कर लिया तो फ्लाइट कैंसिल करना इन टाइम क्यों नहीं बताया, समय से क्यों नहीं बताया? नंबर 1, कम से कम छोटी दूरी के लोग अपना कुछ इंतजाम कर लेते. अब नंबर 2, जुलाई से यह लागू कर दिया गया था. जुलाई से कहा गया था कि आपको तैयारी कर लेनी. जुलाई, अगस्त, सितंबर, अक्टूबर, नवंबर और यह शुरू हो गया दिसंबर. एविएशन मिनिस्ट्री और डीजीसीए के अधिकारी क्यों खाकर मुटा रहे हैं वहां? कौन सा काम कर रहे हैं कि उनको फॉलो अप एक शब्द होता है.
नहीं, कुछ लोग का कहना है कि जैसे आपको फीडबैक मिल जाता है, ये जो लोग हैं मंत्री और उनके आसपास के जो लोग हैं अधिकारी, वो सब रील देखते हैं या रील बनाते हैं, रील देखते हैं फिर फॉरवर्ड करते होंगे रील. ये जो बेसिक चीजें सबको पता है, सब बोल रहे हैं कि ये पहले से था. दे शुड हैव सीन दिस कमिंग, बट वो बिजी हैं. हर्षवर्धन जी,
इसके आगे जरा सोचिए, आपने फॉलो अप नहीं किया, इसका मतलब कि ये तो राम भरोसे चल रहा है मंत्रालय. डीजीसीए राम भरोसे चल रहा है, इसका मतलब यही हुआ ना. यानी कोई वीकली फॉलो अप का कोई सिस्टम ही इन प्लेस नहीं है. और उससे आगे आ जाइए, जब पहले दिन 117 या कितनी फ्लाइट्स रद्द हुई, तो मान लीजिए, मैंने माना ये जो नया नियम आ गया कि 12 घंटे का रेस्ट होगा, 48 में से 36 बचा, तो आपके पास क्रू का नंबर तो होगा ना. आपकी 200 फ्लाइट अगर रन कर रही है तो 150 फ्लाइट तो रन करेगी ना. आप लोगों को मैनेज कर सकते थे.
ये पैसा मैनेज कर रहे थे, इनको लोगों की परवाह नहीं थी. ये अपना बैलेंस शीट मैनेज कर रहे थे. मैंने शुरू में वही कहा, तब तक आप जुड़े नहीं थे. इनको अपने प्रॉफिट से मतलब है हर्षवर्धन जी, और कुछ मतलब नहीं है इनको. हमारे साथ डॉक्टर मुनी भी है. डॉक्टर मुनी, व्हाट डू यू हैव टू से अबाउट दिस मेस?
Pranesh ji, first of all, where is the BJP spokesperson today? IndiGo's cancellation is happening, but why the BJP is cancelling your shows?
No, that's a fair question, Dr. Muni.
Anyway.
No, we asked the BJP that, look, we are discussing this at 8 PM. और नहीं आए बीजेपी के स्पोक्सपर्सन.
चलो हो सकता है कि इंडिगो की फ्लाइट में होंगे, डिले हो गया चलो एनीवे टुडे द गवर्नमेंट ग्रांटेड इंडिगो।
हर्षवर्धन जी कुछ बोल रहे हैं आपके सवाल।
नहीं, मुझे तो फिर भी टीडीपी से प्रोफेसर ज्योत्सना दिख रही है और बड़ा अच्छा है कि वो सवालों के जवाब दे रही हैं। कांग्रेस का स्पोक्स पर्सन है क्या डिबेट में प्रणेश जी?
नहीं, वो तो
क्यों नहीं होना?
वो इनवाइट लेने के लाइन में खड़े, राहुल गांधी के लिए वो इनवाइट ले रहे हैं।
क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए था? वो एलओपी है, लीडर ऑफ अपोजिशन से पोस्ट करके काम चलाएंगे। इस देश का विपक्ष किसी भी समय, सरकार तो इसमें बचाव कर ही रही है, इस देश का विपक्ष भी जो उसकी जिम्मेदारी वो नहीं निभा रहा है। इतनी बड़ी घटना होती देश के हर हिस्से पर।
मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, जब लोग सफर कर रहे हैं, प्लीज विपक्ष ये पॉलिटिक्स ना खेले, क्योंकि टुडे द गवर्नमेंट ग्रांटेड इंडिगो।
हर्षवर्धन भाई, बीजेपी का स्पोक्सपर्सन क्यों आएगा?
नहीं हर्षवर्धन जी, नहीं देखिए, वो तो सवाल बिल्कुल फेयर है कि बीजेपी का स्पोक्स पर्सन नहीं है, वो तो डॉक्टर मुनि का पूछना बनता है। वो तो ठीक है, आप उसको उस पर मत डांटिए। आज रहने दीजिए।
मैं क्या कह रहा हूं, ये डिबेट को पॉलिटिसाइज करना होता है।
नहीं तो आज देखिए,
आपको पता है, अगर आप जिम्मेदार कहें तो टीडीपी से बैठी हुई है प्रोफेसर ज्योत्सना।
बिल्कुल है, प्रोफेसर ज्योत्सना हैज बीन कैंडिड इन हर व्यूज। शी सेड कि देयर आर नो टू वेज अबाउट इट, दिस इज अ मेस। उन्होंने तो वो बोल दिया। वेरी ब्रेव ऑफ यू मैम टू एटलीस्ट कम एंड take question. Sanjay Karveji is also joining us, aviation expert. Sir, good evening. I'm just coming to you. Dr. Muni, make your point.
I want to ask Jyotsna ji today that why today the government granted IndiGo, only IndiGo, sweeping exemptions from pilot flight duty limitations, rules compromising safety standards. Why? Why the aviation ministry is jeopardizing travelers' lives as over 1900 flights cancellations is happening by IndiGo and 1000 more. No food, no water. IndiGo's vacant counters are, everything is haywire. And the most important thing is that IndiGo expanded winter routes by 15% without hiring. DGCA and MOCA knew about it. Yet no preventive or punitive steps were taken, violating CAR guidelines. Remember, let me tell you one very interesting fact. Do you know IndiGo got 0 fines for delays in cancellation in 2025? Air India को 10 करोड़ का फाइन डाला गया Air India पे, पर IndiGo पे 0 fines. Pilot associations, what Karan was speaking about, and I think he is brave enough. Pilot association flagged IndiGo's understaffing in November, but MOCA appealed to unions for cooperation. Yes, MOCA appealed to unions for cooperation instead of mandating hires. Now my important question is that to Jyotsna ji, जब आप देखते हैं कि ना कि सरकार इंडिगो के साथ खड़ी है, आज भी खड़ी है, पूछिए अपने आप को कि क्यों खड़ी है? Why you are giving them
Professor Jyotsna.
Sir, as I said, thank you for asking that question in the first place, I would say. Now, we are not with IndiGo, we are with the passengers. Let me tell you, we are not with IndiGo, we don't intend to be with IndiGo. We are saying very clearly on national television that the entire mess is created by IndiGo and the accountability will be fixed. Nobody will be spared. Let me tell you, this is Jyotsna, the official spokesperson of Telugu Desam Party, and on behalf of the government, we are telling you that accountability will be fixed. Nobody will be spared. Now, but the first instance is now the focus, the immediate focus. Kya bolte na wo? Short term and long term. Long term, definitely we have formed an inquiry, and inquiry is on the way. Definitely, who is accountable?
Ma'am, this inquiry, 1 minute. Professor Jyotsna, I have regards to you, ma'am, but the long and short of this is very simple. The people that you're saying are under the scanner. The civil aviation minister himself, unfortunately, finds himself in that list. He is right at the top of the list. He is competing with the CEO of IndiGo. The CEO says tomorrow there will be cancellations under 1,000. The Mantri ji says, very good. Situation is better. Captain Karve, is this not IndiGo engineered mayhem, sir?
Now, this is a very interesting point. IndiGo, this particular FDTL rule came in January 2024. That means it is 2 years ago. And from that particular time onwards, IndiGo has been fighting tooth and nail that the rule should not get implemented. Today, the government or the DGCA may say that we had it implemented in phases. It was because the Delhi High Court had to step in and say that enough of it, you need to implement it forthwith. But Jan 2024, everyone was clear that with the available strength of pilots, there was no way that IndiGo could have run the show or could have managed the flights. Despite knowing very well that the rule is likely to come in, they increased the number of flights in the winter schedule. Now, how does IndiGo want us to understand that with less number of pilots, more rest period, you are going to meet additional flights? And then you suddenly come up and say, look, I can't meet it. Passengers are going to get inconvenienced, so give me a leeway. Just a couple of hours ago, IndiGo CEO went on air and publicly apologized. But if you see his body language, it was pure statement of fact that how dare you question IndiGo? How dare you point a finger at IndiGo? He says by 15th of December, everything will be normal. If everything is going to be normal by 15th of December, why do you want to leave it till 10th of February? Are you going to tell us that within this 4 days?
Look, you know, just see how this is interesting. You are saying the CEO says 15th of December and the minister does not even know. He says by tomorrow situation will be better. One of the two, कोई तो झूठ बोल रहा है, विक्रम सिंह. Sir, ये है क्या? I mean, you know, let's address the viewers.
Pranesh ji, there is much more to it than what meets the eye. You all are thorough gentlemen, but I have seen more of the world than any one of you. And I would say from that it is crony capitalism at its worst and trying to favor the IndiGo. And also, I would say there are unethical practices that need to be stemmed out. I would also request that there should be a CBI inquiry into the dateline, into the follow-up, the action plan, and the mess-up. Captain Sanjay has a merit in what he has said, that the CEO of IndiGo, he seems to be very, very pompous, and whatever he has said does not give any assurance and does not inspire any confidence whatsoever. The manner in which it has been going, you very rightly said, DGCA has so much of authority and power, they could have blacklisted, they could have imposed fines, they could have given a cancellation certificate, but nothing like that happened. Perhaps there was some kind of unwritten code to prop up IndiGo and to look the other way for all the misdemeanors that IndiGo has committed, oblivious to the human misery that happened. Obviously, there should be consequences for the DGCA.
There will be no consequences, sir. I agree with Harshvardhan Tripathi ji. Bulldozer action होना चाहिए DGCA बिल्डिंग पे. वो बोल रहे बिल्डिंग को हटा दीजिए, वहां पार्क बना देना चाहिए.
इससे अच्छा तो यही रहेगा कि वो ना रहे तो ज्यादा अच्छा है.
वो भी ठीक है. हर्षवर्धन जी,
जांच होगी. ये तो कहना ही पड़ेगा कि भाई इंक्वायरी कराओ. ये तो करना पड़ेगा ना. ऐसे तो हम कह नहीं सकते किसी को सूली चढ़ा दो. क्रिमिनल नेग्लिजेंस का मामला इंडिगो के सीईओ या मैनेजमेंट टॉप है, उसके खिलाफ अब तक क्यों नहीं किया गया? क्रिमिनल नेग्लिजेंस है ये. वहां इस तरह की स्थिति पर कोई भी एयरपोर्ट कितना भी बड़ा हो इक्विप्ड नहीं होता है. इतनी बड़ी संख्या में लोग आ जाए तो 3 फ्लाइट रीशेड्यूल होती है, बस अड्डा बन जाता है एयरपोर्ट. और वहां आप ये उम्मीद कर रहे हैं क्रिमिनल नेग्लिजेंस का मामला है ये. अब तक क्यों नहीं एफआईआर दर्ज हुई?
और वहां पे बिल्कुल सही बोल रहे हैं, क्रिमिनल नेग्लिजेंस और यूजर डेवलपमेंट फी भी है एक, और भी बहुत सारे ऐसे वो सेस और चार्जेस लगाते हैं. लेकिन अगर सिस्टम की तरफ से कोई दिक्कत है तो उस पर पेनल्टी का कोई प्रोविजन नहीं है. करण
नहीं, प्रणेश, पिछले साल 300 फ्लाइट इंडिगो की पिछले साल भी कैंसिल हुई थी. ये मैं वही बार बार बात कर रहा हूं. दे हैव नॉट बिकम ब्रेजन एंड शेमलेस इन अ डे, एंड देयर इज समथिंग दे हैव ओवर द DGCA. Why is the DGCA so helpless and emasculated in front of this IndiGo CEO? Did you see the smugness on his face? It is as if he believes that because these norms came, we are entitled to do all this. He's put the ball entirely in the court of the DGCA and the Civil Aviation Ministry. What is it? Why is the DGCA, why is the Civil Aviation Ministry so timid in front of this CEO? And Professor Jyotsna said that safety, passenger safety is important. We'll fix his accountability. You didn't fix his accountability for the last year and a half. He's been getting away with this for such a long time. So it's only because today media, the citizens, we've stood up that you are taking note of it. Otherwise, yesterday the civil aviation minister said it will get better. Today I think he said it will get better tomorrow. Why is he saying this? Because he's complacent. He takes us for granted. He doesn't care. He believes these citizens won't get up, won't reclaim their rights. That is the problem you have. You believe that citizens are a disorganized lot. Well, we have a voice, ma'am, and you have to listen to us. At the end of the day, it is citizens first. The country belongs to us. You are here to serve us. You are not our masters. Tell that to the civil aviation minister. Tell that to the DGCA.
Professor Jyotsna, I'll come back to you. Just 1 minute, ma'am, 1 minute. Let me quickly read this, IndiGo CEO's statement. His name is Peter Elbers. I hope this, this clip reaches him. He says, assisting stranded passengers. Due to yesterday's situation, many customers were stranded, mostly at the nation's largest airport. Our focus has been to ensure that all affected passengers are able to travel today. We have also advised customers whose flights are cancelled not to come to the airports, as notifications have been sent. What about those who are there already, Mr. CEO? Why are you sitting in your office? Should the CEO not have been at the airport? Imagine the message that it would have sent. He's, this is this video message that the man has recorded. This looks like the clip that you see in these spy thrillers from an undisclosed location, from a bunker. CEO talking, is completely disconnected from what's happening on the ground. If the airline company can't give a sanitary pad, now imagine the situation. Professor Jyotsna, is there anything more that one could say?
Absolutely not. I'll tell you why. Because definitely when the airline cannot do that, then they are unfit. There is no doubt about it. That's the reason I said we are fixing the accountability. And to the question of Mr. Karan Verma, sir, the minister is not irresponsible. He's been there on the ground. He is standing with the people there. You have to understand that. And sir, again, I'm telling you, time and again, I'm telling you, we are not running away. We are not shying away. We are here. First, we are fixing the problem. And yes, one of the panelists said only IndiGo was given the leeway. No, sir, all the airlines have been given the leeway. Because we have to fix the situation first.
No, but ma'am, how does that help, Professor Jyotsna, that everybody gets the exemption? The government should not have given it in the first place.
Let me complete. You have to first let me complete. For the past 2 times, you're not letting me complete. Please let me complete. Now, my point is, because we have to first fix the situation. First, we are concerned about the passenger convenience and also safety. That's the reason we are first fixing the situation. And then we are coming back. Definitely, as I said, IndiGo will not be spared. None of the airlines, if they don't follow the norms, will be spared. Kindly, you have to understand that.
Harshvardhan ji, kindly understand.
प्रोफेसर ज्योत्सना, अगर आप सिर्फ एक सवाल का जवाब दे सकें, एक सवाल का जवाब, कोई रूल है, उसको कोई प्राइवेट बॉडी नहीं मान रही है और उसके लिए वो कहती है कि अच्छा चलो हम सब बंद कर देंगे, जो करना हो कर लो. एक नॉर्मल मेमो भी आपने इशू किया उनको?
सर, मैं यही
इसका जवाब दीजिए अगर आपके पास जानकारी है तो.
हाँ सर, मेमो की तो जानकारी मेरे पास नहीं है, मगर लेके मैं इमीडिएटली टाइम्स नाउ को देंगे. मैं ये एक चीज बता रही हूँ सर, जो क्वेश्चन आपने पूछा, डेफिनेटली जो भी अगर रूल फॉलो नहीं कर रहा है ना सर, उसके ऊपर बिल्कुल कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए, होगी भी सर. रूल फॉलो एंड देयर आर नो एग्जेम्पशन.
ज्योत्सना जी, मेरा सवाल, हाँ मैं फिर से दोहरा रहा हूँ, रूल फॉलो नहीं किया ये तो इंडिगो लंबे समय से कर रहा है. उसने कहा हम फ्लाइट ही नहीं चलाएंगे, उसने सारी फ्लाइट अपनी बंद कर दी, खड़ी कर दी.
हाँ जी.
उसके बाद क्या उसको नोटिस इशू हुआ, कोई ऐसा उसको मेमो जारी किया गया को उसके खिलाफ कोई ऐसी जो कहते हैं ना कि रूल बुक आपने फॉलो नहीं किया? और ये तो सीधे सीधे चैलेंज है गवर्नमेंट को. ये रूल फॉलो करने से आगे का मसला है.
सर बिल्कुल उन पे कार्रवाई होगी सर, होगी और हुआ भी होगा. मुझे अभी तक तो जानकारी नहीं है, मगर फिर भी जैसे ही जानकारी मिलेगी मैं आपको बताऊंगी, मगर कार्रवाई तो होगी. बिकॉज वही
Professor Jyotsna, look, I don't want to pile more questions on you, because ideally the BJP should, your alliance partner, ma'am, the big brother should have been here taking some questions, but Dr. Muni said there is no BJP spokesperson here. So how much can you answer? And there is no memo. So, obviously when there is no memo, how will you have any information about the memo? Parvez Damania, be realistic in what you say now, sir. How long before the situation at the airports begin to improve?
No. What I am saying, the government at least could have immediately said, please report to us what you are doing for the consumer at the airport. Today, I understand you cannot produce 500 commanders overnight, but at least you can make life easy for the passengers at the airport. A lot of people told me that there were no IndiGo people at the counter. There were counters were unmanned. There was no support system at the airport. Now, there can be, I can understand if they say flight duty time limitation, no pilots, all that. But service at the airport, looking after the consumer, giving communication. One family is saying, हमको बोला 5 दिन के बाद flight check. अरे उतना तो कर सकते ना. Hotels, transport, nothing was provided. No food, no water. Now, madam, there can be no excuse for this situation. The minister can say, immediately report to me what you are looking after the consumer, what is happening in the airport. I want to know on the hourly basis how consumers are taken care of. Consumers left at complete mercy of the situation at the airport has no excuse. And IndiGo cannot get away with
IndiGo and the government, sir. IndiGo and the government in the same breath, in equal measure, Mr. Damania, because, you know, like we were discussing, just because the airline is left to self-regulate does not mean the government will not do anything. Karan?
You know what Mr. Damania said? He said at least this much IndiGo could have done there, the government could have done. Well, you give them an inch, they'll take a yard. And this government gave them an entire farmyard. They said, do whatever the hell you want to do. Norms be damned, regulations be damned for an entire year and a half. And they were pretty much mocking the government, Pranesh. Complaints being flagged and they laughed at it. Entire last year, everyone was sleeping over it. I think it's a wake-up call for citizens. That if you give them an inch, they'll take a yard, they'll not even give you basic facilities. They'll treat you as guinea pigs. That's what they'll do.
What is your advice to the DGCA? Not that they will follow it necessarily, but you can try.
When it came to Akasa and SpiceJet last year, if you remember, you know, they goofed up on some of their flights, which was only about 15 or 20% of flights. They issued notices to both these airlines. And like you said, not even a notice has been issued to IndiGo, where the entire structure has collapsed. Not even a notice. And if you see the letter of the DG, an appeal, it is based towards pilot. You know, it appears as if the pilots are at fault. The organization is doing everything that it can do, but it is the pilots who are the culprit. Just read that letter which the DG has issued.
Is this the letter which is signed by Faiz Ahmad Kidwai? Is this the letter that you are talking about?
Absolutely. Yeah. It only focuses on how pilots must support the organization.
Yeah.
If the pilots support the organization, they are going to break the rule. Is the DGCA going to hold the hands of the pilots to break the rules? That is the time DGCA will say, no, we are
maybe there is some understanding between the airline and the DGCA. Who knows? Karan?
Absolutely. Pranesh, this is what it seems like. I mean, you see, we've seen corruption cases. We've seen a whole lot of things. Never have we seen a CEO, embers, or I don't know, maybe career is up in embers now. We've never seen this kind of brazenness. Peter Embers. Elbers. I think it should be Embers because that's where he's left his career and his legacy. But, you know, we've never seen anything like this. And this cannot happen until and unless you have someone in your pocket. I'm being very crude about it. But that is how it seems. That is what Vikram Singh ji wanted to say, perhaps. That we cannot be taken for a ride like this until and unless there is some tacit understanding. Because who gets to break such norms in today's day and age?
Even on an important topic like this, look at the political discourse. I thank some of you for joining us on debate number 1. Captain Karve, thank you for joining us. Parvez ji, we hope situation improves. But if it doesn't, be prepared to talk to me tomorrow also, sir. And day after and in the days to come.